Welcome to another episode of Rob and Avis Ramble.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Am I supposed to say something? Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do. We're sitting in front of a couple of mics talking. This is what we do.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be standing in the kitchen talking.
Otherwise, we'd be standing in the kitchen talking. I'd probably be eating. I did just eat. I just made a protein shake before we came in here. It's pretty good. My beef protein. I like it.
Beef and egg.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to talk about today? Did you bring?
No, I did not bring a
you
topic.
didn't. So I think we're now this is like our 8th episode into this thing here that we're doing. I think something like that. And you still haven't brought anything. So that's fine. I've got some ideas, some stuff we could talk about.
That's not my role in this relationship.
Yeah. You just sit around and look pretty. That's your job.
Sure.
Okay. I'm great with that. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot's happened in the last couple of days. We had the attempted assassination.
No, you still didn't get that right.
Assassination?
There.
Assassination?
No.
Why can't I say it?
I don't know.
Assassination.
There you go.
There we go. Of Donald Trump.
Yes.
Which was craziness. Yeah, just craziness. I wish I could say I was surprised, but I think just the political temperature in our country is, yeah. I mean, I think people are extremely frustrated. That's no excuse for what happened at all.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised is all I'm saying. It wasn't shocking. Like I saw that news when it came across and I was like, yeah, I'm not that shocked. Like it shouldn't be happening. It's angering that it's happening.
On so many levels.
Yeah, on a lot of levels, but I wasn't surprised just because that's where the political temperature is. And I don't know that it's going to get any better between now and November. I'm seeing on the news today that Biden is it was being reported that he may drop out of the presidential race come this weekend. At least that's what's privately, or I don't know, privately. Several media outlets are reporting this.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of inside information that's being leaked, and that he's going to step aside, and they're gonna like he'll remain the president, is what they're saying through November, but he'll no longer seek the nomination, and it'll be somebody else.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. So if we couldn't add any more to this cluster that's already a cluster, let's just do something like that.
Yeah.
Holy cow! What a disaster. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what else to say about that. Just some kind of shocking news, and
There's nothing really to say about it.
yeah. Well,
It's not debatable. It happened.
It happened. Yeah, and there's a lot of theories and like conspiracy. I don't know if you call it conspiracy theories, but there's just still so much information coming in and so much crazy stupidness where the head of the Secret Service is saying that they didn't have somebody on the roof because the roof was too steep, but yet I think all the other buildings were the same pitch. I don't have anything to say about that. That seems, it seems like they just would have been better off saying we were inept.
Yeah.
Versus some silly, weird excuse like that. And then I see people talking about the potential of 2 shooters and like, I don't know. And terrible that, somebody lost their life. Absolutely horrible. I think there was, I know there was at least one life lost. And I don't know, I think there was at least another one, maybe 2 people that were injured.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I haven't followed it too closely. There's so many, I just feel like you're never going to get all the information.
Yeah, we don't ever actually know what's going on. I mean,
No.
stuff is reported going on, and unless you were standing there seeing it with your own eyes, you don't really know what happened. And even maybe sometimes in those cases, you still don't really even know what happened, even when you saw it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, craziness. So, all right. Well, let's talk about something else that's maybe not so depressing. It'll be hard to avoid depressing topics because
you bring the topics.
Because I bring the topics. I bring the I'm trying to we're trying to bring the controversial these relationship topics we seem to be talking about.
Okay.
Although, wait, before I go into that, I should add that, unsurprisingly, there's like all kinds of calls for renewed calls for gun control now.
Of course.
And of course, yeah, I'm like, adamantly against that, obviously. But it's another infuriating, somebody, an awful person does an awful thing, and we want to punish the public, or we want to use it as an excuse to punish the public for crimes that they did not commit, and making them easier to victimize by removing their ability to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And it's always very angering to me, extremely angering. But yeah, not surprising.
No.
So, all right. So let's get on to another topic. So, I saw some. I don't usually. I try to attribute this to a specific person that I may have seen posted on social media, but I can't recall at the moment who it was. But I just, and this is a topic I've seen discussed before. But at what age should people marry, or think about marriage? Is it we hear people talking about people shouldn't get married too young. But then, there's other things that say, yeah, you should marry young. There's benefit to marrying young. So
Yeah. I think younger is better than older.
younger is better. Well, that was our experience. So I don't know if we're biased. I mean, we got together. We went to your high school prom together.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I know that was our experience, but I just looking at our friends and people that we've known, I don't know that it's easier to be married when you're young, but I feel like in the traditional sense, the longer a woman waits, the more she has to be prepared to take care of herself, right? So then she starts getting more and more independent and more into her career. And as we've discussed, we don't think that's the best.
yeah. Do you think, because I see men kind of making the argument that they should wait till they're a little older in life. It's better for them. It gives them a chance to get more established. I mean, what do we think about that? Or do we think that they should just, you're young, you just go at it. You don't have any money, and you build those things together.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best times are when you're dirt poor and you have to figure out a way to go on a date that's creative, right? Like you're not affording the fancy meals or things like that.
Yeah.
Plus, I think many men are motivated by the idea of having a woman to care for.
I think that I do think at a man's core that is true, but I think there's also kind of this whole like modern woman thing we see talked about, and the way modern women behave. That's maybe not such a thing that it for a lot of men just are purposely not thinking in that way.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. You don't agree they're not thinking that way, or you don't
No,
agree that
I think they are thinking that way, but I think that's one of the stumbling blocks that we're having here in marriages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people say, some men are saying marriage is a bad deal for men. So
Sure, and I mean, I would agree if you look at the laws, yes. If you look at the mental benefits, no.
yeah. So if you can kind of take all of the, just forget for a minute all the potential risk you put yourself at, but there is some mental upside to a man having a motivation and having the drive to want to, care for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you have to compartmentalize it and not think about, sadly, if you're going to enter into marriage, you need to enter into marriage without the thought of divorce.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not thinking about divorce, then you've compartmentalized that out of the equation. And now we're just talking about the pros and cons of actually being married, not the dissolving of the marriage.
Right. Well, I don't know if we're saying the same thing. I mean, you ideally would not enter into a marriage with the idea that you're going to get divorced.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But then you only control one side of the marriage, and you don't know what your spouse is thinking, right? So you may not be thinking that, and your spouse is, and I think we've known people kind of like that, where they, like, it was just like they got married, women specifically, who got married and were just like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this until something better happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty dirty and gross and not very, moral.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't, like, you can't prepare for its demise and have a healthy marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I think we're kind of straying here. I know we do that. We ramble, right?
Yeah.
But like, what? So let's go back to the age thing. So at what age is too young to get married, and what age is too young to get married? I mean, what is or maybe I should say, what is the ideal age to get married?
I don't know. I think everybody is different. I think it's you have to have a maturity level.
Is it different for men and women?
Well, yes, I think it's different for every individual.
So you think from just a strictly kind of like biological for men versus biological for women, you think it's the same, or you think it's still individual between the individuals, and it's not mostly like you can't say men are better off marrying between such and such age and women are maybe better off marrying between such and such age, or is it the same age?
It's kind of getting in the weeds of it for me.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get into the weeds.
Yeah. Trying to get into the weeds of it. I think it depends. It's based on the individual, not the gender. Some men launch quickly and know what they want. Others launch a little slower and they're going to need more time. And same with women.
Yeah. So should men and women marry people that are the same age as they are, or like what should they be seeking when they're so if a man, he's taking longer to mature and or launch or whatever it is we're calling it, and then he's 28 years old and now he's like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to enter into a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who is he seeking? Is he seeking another 28-year-old? Is he seeking a 20-year-old? Like,
I mean, now you're talking about dating, and I think a range. You have to. I don't think you should limit yourself and be like, I'm only going to marry a 28-year-old.
well, are there pros and cons to marrying someone your own age versus marrying somebody who's not your age?
I feel like, yes, at different stages of life, those are more prominent.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you're in midlife, everybody's kind of in midlife. But if you shift that to younger or older years, then an age gap becomes more apparent. So, I don't know. I don't quite understand the huge age gaps. And I think because you don't see it that often, that's pretty universal. I mean, people do it. But again, like everything in life is kind of on a bell curve, right? I think majority of people stick to somewhat similar in age.
Yeah. Trying to think of all the couples we know. I mean, I think we mentioned before my brother's dating kind of post-divorce, right? And he seems to be, for the most part, dating girls that are, he's in his late 40s. And he's dating women that are 10-ish years younger than him on average, I think.
Yeah, usually closer to 12, I think.
Even a little younger.
Yeah.
So that's why I said 10-ish. But yeah. And I'm just thinking of other, I mean, most of the older men that I can think of that we know that are, dating are usually dating younger. But is that and I think that's where I'm trying to where this conversation was kind of going, that I was seeing people talking about is like, so if a man, so why is it that a man who is, 30s, I don't know, 40s, maybe is better to say, plus, looking to date a woman that's, 10, or in my brother's case, as you're saying, 12 years younger than him, at that age, so, if you're 45 years old and now you're looking at women that are, 33 to 35,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were a, 20-year-old or 22-year-old man, well, clearly you're not looking at 12-year-olds to marry, right? So you're looking at women who are more just for the fact of, you're obviously we don't date children, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the oldest that you're going to be looking at if you're 22 years old is an 18-year-old. So there's like at most a 4-year gap
Mm-hmm.
versus when you get older. So why is that? Why aren't men looking at women that are their age when they find themselves later in life back in the dating and looking for a wife pool, versus when they're younger? I mean, do we think this plays into any of the divorce statistics we hear about?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, beauty. Are we saying that younger women are prettier?
Um,
I mean, I look in the mirror and I definitely don't look as fresh as I did when I was 35 every morning.
sure. Well, we all age,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm
if
sure
I
that's a.
kick it, are you going to date down? Or are you going to date another woman of similar age?
I have no idea. These aren't things I don't think you're gonna kick it anytime soon.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying, like, what is your proclivity? I think women are willing to date older because,
Yes.
as we've established, women like security.
Right. So So someone, up to 10 years or more older than them may offer more security.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a perfect. There's not a perfect.
No. Your brother was saying a good guide is if you compare it to driving and speeding. So, which I didn't really connect with his comparison, but he's like, the speed limit is 45, like maybe you're okay doing 55 or 60, but if the speed limit is 15, like you're probably only doing like 18 or 20. So he was saying like that it was that kind of a scale, and that's how he kind of judges whether or not someone is too young for him.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think then, we only know the limited pool of people we know, and that's really bad for us to say statistically because we
Yeah.
don't really know.
No.
But of the people that we know that are, finding themselves in dating range, like they're dating younger.
Mm-hmm.
The men are.
We know several relationships of 15 to 20-year age gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they seem very happy and well balanced.
Yeah. And our daughter, our oldest daughter, we have a few kids, but she is 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Almost 24.
Sorry, almost 24 now. Gosh,
Yeah.
I'm like terrible with the ages. Okay, yeah, she's almost 24. And so she's dating a new guy that we just recently met, who is 28.
I believe he's 29.
So 5-year gap there.
Yeah.
A little more than 5 years. Yeah. But I think that kind of goes with what I'm saying,
Yeah.
which is like, obviously the younger you are, there's going to be less of a.
Yeah. But even in that scenario, he's offering her, if you will, more stability than person she's dated in the past. Like he's more of a proper man, I guess.
Yeah, I think he tends to be a little more conservative and traditional.
Yeah. He makes her walk on the inside. He walks on the outside near the road. Right. He drives.
Yes, he likes to pay for the meals, all that stuff. All things that I am very in support of.
Yeah.
I think that's the right thing, but and a little different for her.
Yes. So this is something kind of new for her.
Yeah.
I mean, not. I don't want to make it sound like anybody she's dated in the past has treated her poorly. That's not the case.
Right.
He's just on kind of the next level up.
Yeah, he's more traditional.
Yes.
Than other other men that she's been dating so
Yeah.
far. So
And that's definitely having an impact on how she feels about the relationship in a positive way.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know that it's really about the specific age, more so than it's about how you get along.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, when you get to the bigger age gaps, I mean, if you've got a 20-year difference and one of you is 60 and one of you is 80, like I can only imagine like you're feeling that.
That the 80-year-old is feeling it.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, maybe, sure. I mean, you're 20 years. That's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
But like, I do think, I mean, women, I think, do mature faster than men, and generally they age different than men, right? So, let's go back to our 30, our 45-year-old example. So you're a 45-year-old man and he marries a 35-year-old chick. I mean, are they kind of equivalent in terms of, being able to keep up with each other
Well, yeah, in midlife.
in midlife?
But then I think as you get older,
So
that's when
you
it
want to take
starts
that
to
same
show up
couple
more.
and say like now the man's 75 and the woman's 65.
Yeah.
You think
I
there's
think that 10 years, I
becomes
think
more important.
I think it becomes more evident because I think that there's a certain point in time where 10 years represents a very sharp angle of decline
Yeah.
in like your abilities to
Well, I think,
do things.
yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, at some point for all of us, we're going to reach a point and our health is going to just rapidly start to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I mean, the last 10 years of life does not look like 10 years in the middle of life.
yeah. Yeah.
And so the younger
So whatever
partner,
that upper age is, you're saying is like now you're 90,
yeah,
whatever. And like you're having serious health problems, but your 80-year-old wife is, she's not 90 yet, right?
yeah,
She's
just still your spring chicken.
right. But in that middle range, like the guy who's 45, 50, 55, whatever, he's much easier keeping up with a girl who's 10 years younger than him.
Sure.
Versus if that girl was the same age as him, like maybe she's having trouble, because women.
Hey, don't bring my back into this.
You're back.
Yeah, I think you're. I was joking.
because you do have some back problems. Yeah. I was like, you're confusing me. I was like, what are we talking about? Your back.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay. But hey, I mean, maybe it's like, fair thing to talk about, right? So
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you're kind of getting to a point where you're experiencing some
Tread lightly here, mister.
some issues.
I'm still just as active.
Yeah, you're very active.
Yeah.
We're very active people. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like you do kind of like you're having mornings where it's harder for you to roll out of bed. And I mean, I have those mornings too, but it's not as pronounced.
Maybe I just whine more.
Maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, so I see what you're saying. So a younger woman is able to keep up with a man longer than an appropriately aged or same aged woman.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, like, if a man is kind of keeping his, I don't know, let's call it stamina, longer than a woman of the same age can keep it. Like, so is that the optimal gap? Is it like 10 years? So, a woman of 10 years kind of has the stamina to keep up with a man who's 10 years younger or older than her, versus if they're the same age. In typical.
Okay, but now
present parties excluded, of course.
Now you have an 18-year-old marrying a 28-year-old. That seems kind of icky.
Well, that's why I was saying. So I think that's kind of like where the conversation is going, which is, at what age should a man marry? So if we kind of arrive at this thing and say, well, maybe the optimal thing for the most highest chance of success in terms of just keeping up with each other. That's all we're talking about. I think there's other problems.
Sure.
There's other problems that can kind of come in an age gap that we're not talking about. But if you're strictly kind of on the physical, and that's what you're going by. So should men is the earliest a man should marry 28 years old because that's the youngest wife that he could have would be an 18-year-old at that point, which does, I agree. You're like, like why is a 30-year-old, almost 30-year-old dude marrying an 18-year-old chick?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she could be right out of high school.
So where is the line in that case? So is it like now like he has to be 30? Does a man have to be 30 because then he's marrying a 20-year-old and that sounds less icky?
I mean, that does sound less icky, but now he's a grown man marrying a college girl, potentially.
Yeah.
And then where are kids fitting into this equation? So I think the younger you are and the younger you get married, the closer the age.
Yeah.
Unless you're a young woman and you marry an older gentleman.
Right, but did that older gentleman, was he waiting for you to get married, or he's just, the product of a failed relationship beforehand, and now he's like, yeah, not doing that again. I'm marrying somebody younger.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the age gap relationships that I'm aware of are not first marriages.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to understand is what is the optimal, like where is that like, blend of, these men that are out there and like, hey, I want to get married. I want to have the traditional life. I'm trying to decide at what age is kind of the best, like what should I be seeking? So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think if you're a young man, you're seeking someone that's maybe a year or two younger than you. Yeah, I don't, or like,
but is that optimal?
Age.
Like if they're looking at the span of their whole life and their whole marriage, they're marrying this person with the intent of being with them their entire life.
Right.
So, if a man is waiting to 30 to get married because he wants to marry the 20 or 22-year-old or whatever, like, is that the smartest play for a man to make? But then what is he doing in those, 18 to 30?
Yeah, is he just adding to the body count of these other women?
Creating these whores that we talked about on our last.
No.
Yeah, I know. It's a complicated subject. Like, that's,
I think you go into the dating world and you fall in love and you get married to the person you fall in love with. All these analytics that you're throwing in, I don't know, man.
Yeah, but we're trying to suss out like what are the things that give a marriage the most probability of standing the test of time, and is it? I think you and I are doing. We're pretty much the same age. You're less than a year younger than me.
Yes.
Almost a year. But yes,
well, you made choices before you were fully informed. So now you're stuck with that decision.
Yeah. No, it doesn't feel stuck. But the thing that we're still here. We have a great relationship, right? But like the I guess what I'm getting at is, I think for us, we're active. We stay active. Or you do a good job of keeping yourself up. I think most people would look at you most days and be like, yeah, there's no way that chick's 50 years old, right?
Yeah.
Or when you were 40 even, people were like, no, you're like 25. People used to say that to you all the time, right? You've done a good job of kind of keeping yourself up and in acting and looking much younger than you are. So, I think that kind of, but that's not really the norm. Like,
Sadly.
Yeah.
I don't, but I don't understand why it's not the norm. It's not like, I don't know. It's just been my life and my lifestyle, so it doesn't seem hard. Sometimes, but I don't know. Yeah.
So that's why I said present parties, just forget that we're some anomaly. Like, what should people do? What should people be doing? I guess ideally, you would say a man should wait until he's like 28 or 30 years old. He's got a chance. He's gotten himself educated. He's gotten himself kind of established in a career, and he should probably remain a virgin. I know that's like crazy to say.
Yeah.
But like, I think ideally, if we're talking about ideals, right? He's gonna do those things. He's gonna stay a virgin, and he's gonna get to this 28, 30-year-old point, and he's gonna go find himself the 18 to 20-year-old virgin wife. We're talking about ideals. I know this is not necessarily reality, and that's probably a pretty good ideal situation.
Okay.
Yeah. But So now, let's just kind of talk about the other side of that. So let's just say that a couple does that, and now, you know, I think there's other problems, right? Because now you've got like a lot of people like in their early 20s, they get kind of wild into their 30s, right? And now you've got the man who's kind of he's been through that, right? And now he's kind of more like maturing. He's not looking for all the wild stuff. And then you've got the wife who maybe is. So rather than kind of both being at that same point, there are different points. And then does that cause
Yeah, I think that can definitely cause problems.
other problems, right?
Yeah, because the wife is looking at the man who's telling her, yeah, it's time to like start making babies and keep house. And she's like, but my friends are going out dancing like you did when you were 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Get married young and grow up together.
Yeah. And stay fit and stay, healthy and like do all those things. And
yeah. Well, again, I mean, that has worked for us because we agreed to have hard conversations.
yes, which we have talked about before. Yeah. That is a key. You must have the hard conversations.
Yeah. So the bottom line is no matter the age gap, you have to have the hard conversations. And that's the only way to keep any marriage kind of on track and out of the sand traps, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as far as like those hard conversations, I don't know if we specifically said, and I know some people are going to be like, oh my God, like, how would you say that? But like, I've like, I will look at you and I will say, hey, like, I see a few extra pounds on you, which has happened over the years, right?
Yes.
And you take it very well. And you're like, yes,
Always.
thank you, sir, for pointing that out to me. I will immediately rectify that situation.
Great information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard conversations, right? There's not easy conversations to have.
Yeah.
But, I mean, those are the ones that need to be had. And I think that is part of it, right? So, if you're gonna, and that's true, I think, no matter what age gap you're marrying, whether you're marrying someone your own age or you're marrying someone younger, older, whatever, you still, if you're going to make your marriage work, there's going to be times you have to have hard conversations. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's always on the woman. The man, never really anything needs to be talked about there.
Yeah. We could be talking about your face scrub.
My face scrub.
Yeah.
That I don't scrub my face, really.
No, this.
Oh, the scruff. I thought you were saying
itchy.
face scrub. Yeah.
I think I did say scrub, but I meant
yeah. I don't
scruff.
scrub my face. But yeah, you don't like this stuff?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I kind of do. So yeah, it's been a thing we talk about here and again, here and there.
Yeah.
So I kind of keep it. It's like a middle ground. I keep it trimmed up.
Yeah, as long as it's short, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's
when
acceptable.
when it's shorter. But yeah.
Although you are known for some wild outfits.
Yeah, I don't always understand fashion. I don't know, is that the word I'm looking for?
That is the word you're looking for.
I mean, I don't even really want to call what I do fashion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand, like, even matching clothes sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been times I've worn stuff and you're like, what is that?
Yeah. This is not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most recently on a trip, sometimes, like, if we're just being casual and not going anywhere important, you'll come out with some crazy outfit on, and that's just part of your quirk. And it doesn't bother me. I mean, I get a chuckle out of it. But our friend Natalie looks at you, and then she looks at me, and she looks back at you, and she's like, his clothes don't match. I was like, I know.
Yeah. I have. I know there's, I'm thinking of one time in particular, probably several years ago, I had these shorts that were like checkerboard kind of pattern, and I come out with like that and like a tie-dye shirt on or something, and like
we have a picture of that one somewhere. That one was special.
Yeah. You were like, and me, I was like, I don't understand. What's wrong?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that
You
doesn't
didn't
work.
understand that at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, leading back to the hard part, the hard conversation part, because you know that I'm sensitive to that because we've discussed it.
Yes.
Like, you will actually let me dress you for.
Yeah, very often. I
Yeah.
mean, the stuff I'm wearing now is like kind of like your input and your.
No, you bought that shirt on your own.
Well, but with your input, you were with me.
Yes, but that's one of those I was like, it's not really my favorite, but you can.
This shirt in particular, I'm shocked to hear that now because I thought you liked these shirts.
Not that particular one.
Not this one. Okay,
No.
so you like the style of shirt.
Yes.
Not this one.
When you bought that shirt, I let you know it was not my favorite.
I have no recollection of that at all.
Okay, well, we had that discussion.
I hadn't worn the shirt in a long time. I saw it kind of in the back of the closet. Now, like, maybe I understand why it's in the back of the closet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Glad I wore this for you.
Perfect.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think those are the, and obviously there's been other, we've had hard conversations, and those are conversations that we're not going to get into the details of here publicly as we do this, but just, I'm sure people can imagine, right? I mean, and you got to have them.
Yeah, I mean, no topic is untouchable.
Yeah.
I think is the point.
Yeah, and I think you need to do it with a sincere heart. I mean, that is the important thing, right? You're not doing this to tear into your spouse or, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be something that you're doing it for the purpose of tearing into your spouse. You can just say to your spouse, like, hey, like there's this thing between us that is, I am finding it very difficult to navigate for me personally.
Yeah.
Right. And then talk through that. Right. And there might be some hard conversations that have to come out of that. Right. But, if you both care about each other and you have interest in, kind of being the best that you can be for your partner, you're going to get through that. And
right.
I think that's just the attitude you have to take.
Yeah. And I think it comes with a certain freedom. I mean, people think, oh my gosh, like that's just mortifying. But I think being able to say, and we both have preferences on the way that one another dresses. And just that, I mean, it's scratching the surface of things. But just being able to say, hey, I don't like it when you wear that shirt. And you're like, oh, well, because you're dressing for me. And so you might say, oh, okay, well, then I won't buy that shirt. This is not that shirt.
When we're done with this podcast, it's immediately going in the trash.
This is not that shirt. But like when we're out and we're shopping, if you try something on, I'm like, no. Then you don't get it. But then, like, I understand you have fashion that you like. And so this is one of those quirky items that I was like, it's not the worst. It's not my favorite, And then that's the other thing is, like, knowing when to accept your partner's quirks and knowing what needs to be discussed.
Yeah. Because you're right. I mean, sometimes there's things about your partner that you're like, yeah, it's a weird quirk. I mean, it's like, maybe it's not my preference, but it's fine. I'm fine with it, right? And kind of understanding too, like, I mean, your job is a spouse. I mean, you should be building your partner up, and you should be, doing what you can to protect your marriage. And that's really how I think you need to think about it. Like, is this thing that I am struggling with that I need to talk to my spouse about, is this in the interest of protecting our marriage? Right? Yeah. And like, I think, to me, that's kind of where that line of delineation is, where it's like
I would agree. So basically, I don't know that the age gap matters so much as the fundamentals of the marriage.
Yeah. The fundamentals in terms of being committed, talking about the hard, being committed enough to be willing to talk about the hard things.
Yeah.
Because I think, as we've said before on here, we've seen marriages where people are like, they've got some issue between them and they find it so difficult to discuss the issue in an open and honest way that they would just rather just leave the marriage.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's too hard to talk about this. And so, like, it is, to me, it's like, I just never really understood that. Like, you're not vested in the marriage. If you're not willing to talk through the thing, whatever the thing is, and it's so emotionally painful to you that divorce is less emotionally painful, like, that just kind of blows me away.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to imagine anything being more emotionally painful than going through a divorce. So what is the thing that you can't talk about? Yeah. I mean, there might be tears, there might be yelling, there might be whatever, but like,
all that's happening if you mention divorce.
Yeah, right. It's all going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay. So where are we landing? So
Age doesn't matter.
age doesn't matter.
No.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we know people that are doing it successfully currently at multiple different
Yeah.
kind of ages. But the people who stay successful are the people who put the work into the marriage and are fundamentally committed to it.
Are they doing it successful at any age? So what I'm wondering is, do we personally, I'm trying to kind of Rolodex through my head here of all the people we know, do we know anybody who is married to someone who has that spread of, whatever that 10 years that we were talking about, that wasn't coming out of a previously failed marriage?
I cannot think of any.
Yeah, I can't either. Like everybody I can think of, that's kind of the scenario, is that they were in a previous marriage. So like, and right now, I mean, did they learn anything? I don't know. So like they're in a relationship, but it's like, are they being successful? I don't know. We don't know yet. How long does somebody have to be together before you consider it successful?
I mean, I think it's successful until they're not together anymore.
No.
I mean, every day of marriage takes work, right? Like every day that you stay married, you've worked for that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that's answering the question.
Well, yeah, I'm defining a successful marriage as a marriage that's intact.
Intact.
Until it's not intact, it's successful. Because even if you know a couple and they're like what you feel like looking in, like, they're on the brink of divorce. It doesn't matter how close they get as long as they come back. Right? That's still success. Like,
yeah. If they're working through their problems, I would agree. Yeah.
Marriage doesn't have to be happy and healthy for it to be successful. I mean, that's the ideal, but you're going to go through phases where
there's going to be periods in everyone's life where you're going to have
suck.
difficulties. Yes. I mean, that is the reality of marriage. I mean, people should not go into marriage thinking it's all butterflies and puppy dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not. There's stuff's just going to happen. Yeah. Right? That's just real life. Stuff's going to happen that you never saw coming. External influences into your lives. Things will happen with jobs and career changes and
babies,
sickness and babies and kids and, all kinds of things that can cause, problems in marriages that you don't know. But I think I'm just, so if you were in a failed relationship and now you're entering into another relationship, did you learn anything from the failure, or did you not learn anything and you ran from the first relationship because you weren't willing to talk about the hard things, and now you just got into a new relationship and you're still not willing to talk about the hard things? So
I think a lot of people going into their second marriage, though, are talking about their first marriage and all. So they're essentially having the hard conversations, but using a different context.
So they're having the hard conversations about their previous spouse.
Yes.
With their current spouse.
Right.
Yeah.
Things, like, because when you start dating somebody, like from a blank slate, not married before, you're dating somebody, like that's the time where you talk about what you're willing to accept or not accept in your relationship, or, who's going to do what in the house, how the money is going to work. Like that's what dating is for. And then, you get into marriage and you have to continue having the hard conversations if you've passed all the muster on those other questions, right? So then if that ends and then you move into your next phase of dating, well, now you have a whole new set of questions, right? Like, because there's things that obviously happened in your first marriage that you're not going to accept in your second marriage. So that has to come up in conversation during dating.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're just speaking from our outside observation. We've never been through that, obviously, but
we know people that have.
We know people, but
I mean, again, if I kick it tomorrow and you start into this dating world, you're not going to be like,
well, one, if you kick it tomorrow, like I'm not getting married.
Well, right, but you'll date.
I guess
you'll date, and you won't actually realize you're dating because you don't understand flirting. You laugh. That happened to one of our children. I don't know if you know, but one of our girls was like, this boy keeps calling me. And I was like, well, does he think you guys are dating? No. Are you guys spending time together? Yeah. Do you spend time together alone without other friends? Yeah. He texts me in the morning, good morning. And then every night he texts me good night. I was like, you're dating. And they were like, I was like, you're dating.
Well,
that could be you.
That could be me.
Yeah.
That's what I would be in. I'd be in like a relationship and not even realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to leave somebody in charge of you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't like to think about those things. I know. I mean, you're here, you're around. Like, if that ever happens, like, I'll cross that bridge when it happens.
But what I'm saying is, you already talk about the hard stuff. All right. Yeah. You're right. That was a bad idea. You're a bad example.
I'm a bad example.
Yeah. Moving on.
All right. Well, anyways, I don't know. I think I was trying to say that, like, I think these relationships, you know, there is like the honeymoon period, right? So like, you know, somebody gets out of a relationship, they get into a relationship, there's this honeymoon period, everything's great, right?
Sure.
Till it's not.
Thrill of the chase.
So like when we're defining what's successful, like what is that? I don't know if you can define it. Like because that honeymoon period is probably different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like how long are they in their honeymoon period before, you know, you're like, okay, well, like they've been together long enough. They've gone through some stuff and they're kind of coming out the other side and doing, you know, doing the stuff that's required to keep a relationship together.
Yeah. Well, I think if you've dated properly, the honeymoon phase is not such like a exception.
Oh.
I think the honeymoon phase should come in like kind of the dating world. Apparently, I feel like people aren't dating enough, like classically dating.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in that world. I mean, I look at I'll talk about my brother because it's just, you know.
He's a bad example.
Well, but I mean, he's somebody I'm close to that I talk to about this stuff and I kind of see what's going on in his life. And I mean, he dates and he's with women for months to years and then it kind of falls apart.
But see,
he's not rushing into marriage by any means.
No, but in my world, your brother doesn't date. He technically is dating because he's not married to them, but he moves in with them.
You think he moves too quick? You think
he
moves too quick?
He moves in with them sometimes on the first date.
What was that? La, 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 la. That has happened. Yeah.
On more than one occasion.
Yeah. Yeah. So my brother, apologies, brother, if I'm sharing too much public information here, but I think he would talk about it too.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, you know, he went through divorce. There was a bunch of stuff I won't get into that, you know, happened. And then he kind of, he adopted this like nomadic lifestyle, right?
Right.
He has a good job. He makes a good living.
Yeah.
And he, I think, just was kind of like, I don't need any of this stuff tying me down. I want to just travel full time.
Sure.
And he, you know, has basically arranged his life, you know, that's what he does is he basically travels full time. And so as, you know, he doesn't have a fixed home. He makes plenty enough good living. He could do that. He could do the traditional thing and buy the house and have the picket fence and all that stuff if he wanted to, but that's not what he wants to do. And so, you know, that has put him in scenarios now where he is doing his nomadic lifestyle and he's in, some months he's in 3 or 4 different cities a month. Sometimes he'll go and stay in the same city for months on end, right? But as he's kind of doing this and he's meeting potential women to date, and there's been occasions he's gone out on a date and for some wacky reason, a woman is like, hey, I'm really into you. Like, do you want to move in with me? And he's like, sure, because I'm nomadic. I can do whatever I want, right?
Right.
I can move in with you or I can go to another city and I'll just find some temporary housing, which is what he usually does. Yeah. Or, you know, he does a lot of like outdoors and camping and all that sort of stuff too. So, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, and I've had this conversation with him, like you're you're cutting out an important part of the dating process. That's the butterflies while, the woman's at
Right.
home getting ready in her own space that you're not privy to. And, you meet and she's fully ready and you're fully ready. And like you're presenting your best foot to one another. You're not like sharing a bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're kind of like, it's like my brother. I think he uses these dating apps, right? So he
Yeah.
finds a match with somebody. He goes on a date. He's like, hey, you're great. She's like, hey, you're great. And, a week, 2 weeks, even a month later, they're living together.
Right.
And you're like, you guys are moving way too fast, is your opinion. Like, because
Yeah.
you're not, you went from dating to like basically we're cohabitating like a married couple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cohabitating, it's kind of like, I mean, even if we're going to go out on a date, like you have your own bathroom. I get ready in my own space.
Yeah.
Because again, you're like, it's a date. It's something special. You want to be putting your best self forward. And then I think like in the beginning when you're dating, you go out, you spend time together, then you go home. You think about it. You talk to your friends. You analyze the situation. That's when you figure out if it was like, was it good? Was it bad? Is this really what I want?
And
then
how long does that have to happen before you're like, okay, maybe we should move in together and kind of cohabitate?
I mean, I think it could be a hot minute.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you want to rush that because that is when it's easy to be like, okay, we're only dating. This came up and I don't think it's something that I can move forward with for the rest of my life. If it's not something that you can change and would like to change for me, then you're not going to be my life partner and we need to part ways. Great. Nobody has to pack. Nobody has to move, right? Like it's easy.
Yeah.
Sorry, it didn't work out. We all go our separate ways. If you're living together inside of 3 months, like you've not been in every situation with that person. You don't know everything there is to know about them. I mean, not that you can know. Like it takes a really long time to know everything about somebody, but I mean, I think you should experience like 4 seasons with somebody before you make it messy.
So let me ask you the next kind of question. Is that just a product of being older in life? Because I would say for you and I mean, as we've talked about before, we went to your high school prom together and we were pretty much attached at the hip from that point. I mean, for the most part, like I think you were living with me in pretty short order. Now, we were kids, right? And we were 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of going against what you say. And then here we are, 30 plus years later, doing just fine, having a good relationship. So,
yeah. Well, I think that was the product of other external factors. That wasn't our plan. It just sort of presented itself.
well, I don't think we really had a plan. We were just stupid kids, right?
Yeah.
We're like, hey, like we like each other. We're having a good
Yeah.
time. We enjoy hanging out.
Yeah.
No.
But then I needed to move and you were like, well, you should just move in with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had other opportunities actually. I had an employer at the time who was like, and he was an older gentleman dating or married to a much younger woman. And actually they were first timers. And now that I'm thinking back on it, they were an age gap and they were first time, neither had been married before and
kind
successfully.
of the scenario we were talking about before.
Yes,
yeah.
doing it successfully. But they
So there is at
counseled
least
me.
one example we know of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking back on it, but they counseled me that might not be the best move for our relationship and offered me a room in their home.
What the hell did they know? Obviously nothing.
But I'm just saying, like, could we have used more time? Maybe. I mean, would that have, like, instead of thrusting us into the frying pan, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it hurt us, but
yeah.
yeah.
But that's why I say is that, but maybe that's more a product of because we were so young. I mean, we were still developing ourselves as people. We weren't as set. We weren't fully developed, right?
Yeah.
And versus now, if you're kind of later in life, you're 30, 40, 50 years old, like you are a much more kind of set in your ways person. There's more traits that you've developed. And maybe it's not so easy just to meld with somebody else who also is a kind of fully developed person. And maybe that's why for us it kind of worked because we were so young and we just kind of were developing together
Yeah.
versus people who are older. So maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, I think in those 4 seasons, like you're not like never cohabitating. Like you're taking trips together and you might share a hotel room together or have a sleepover every now and then. Like I'm not saying there's never any cohabitating, but I don't think it should be the primary situation. I still think the dating needs to come
Important. And you're
Yeah.
saying for at least 4 seasons.
I think 4 seasons, yeah.
Yeah. So a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think?
About a
At a
year.
minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you start slow where you being the man, pick me, the woman up, and we go out, things like that. And then as it progresses, like I said, maybe you spend a weekend together, things like that. But yeah, I think having your own space for at least a year is.
Yeah. I'd be curious to hear from some other people who are living that in reality rather than you and I just kind of
Yeah.
talking about something we don't actually do. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. I mean, I think from your point of view or our point of view, like, yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to start having some guests on here. I don't know who we would get, but
Maybe.
yeah, we get like, we could, you know what? We could get couples.
Ooh.
And we could be like, bring up some like hard topic that we know all married couples struggle with and be like, let's talk about the hard thing. Let's do this right now in front of the public.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Be like our own Jerry Springer
How can you not drink
kind of
coffee?
Dr. Phil mashup kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I like drama.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we beat that one up pretty well. Oh yeah. Gosh, it's almost been an hour. Okay. We definitely beat that one up pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess we'll wrap this one up. I mean, there's nothing else you want to talk about that's important?
No, I'm kind of hungry too.
You're kind of hungry. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I just had a big protein shake before we came in here, but I can eat again. I'd like to make a carnivore pizza. Maybe we can run out to the store and get carnivore pizza stuff.
Yeah.
And I could do some carnivore pizza.
I like bananas.
And you like some bananas. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for listening. And, we'll see you on the next one, whenever that is.
Bye.